Welcome to this thing that's, whatever, and you're listening to it probably masturbating by now because of the sultry sounds of my voice. Welcome. I had been saying to myself that I was gonna make a little podcast or whatever this thing is, because I don't know how it'll be available to the public, but I'll be putting it on YouTube. Would that be called a tubecast? I'm sure. I don't think I can keep that up forever. That's too much. So I'm just gonna sit here and just babble, talk. I was gonna say Babylon, but that's... It's like the thing that sticks out in your head is the last thing you heard, of course, that inspired you. And Kevin Smith has that Wayne Gretzky thing. If you ever listen to what he has to say, he talks about how Walter Gretzky inspired his son to go where the puck is gonna be and not where the puck is. Okay? To anticipate, to try to do something different. That is what I took out of it. I mean, I'm not 100% sure how I'm sure it's similar. And what he took out of it too is to just do what you want to do, make yourself happy, but also go where the money is gonna be. Like he knows. Kevin Smith, he knows that this podcast thing is taking off because you can become intimate with your audience, and you don't have to go on somebody else's show. You can create your own and do all that PR stuff. You could just take care of it and get rid of it and say fuck it, because now you have this medium where you can just get it to anybody across the world and they can hear you automatically. If I wanted to do this right now, and the quickest I can upload it right now, say it's 10 minutes away, I mean, within 10 minutes I'm broadcasting to the world. You know what I mean? You hear me out there? So there's this spark that goes off in my head, and it says, I can do this shit too, I won't be as well versed as he is as far as creating things for Hollywood and being in that mix of Hollywood people, but I'll give it the regular guy's view, the guy that's sitting here nearly poverty stricken. I won't say that, but I'm definitely not upper class. So you get another view. And not to down what he's doing, because he was a regular dude at one point and he had to start somewhere. And this is where I'm starting. This is my first official one, I guess. My first official cast that I'm going to do. I'm going to try to get one out. I did a bunch of them and they keep sucking so much ass that I'm just like, why release this to the public? There's enough crap out there. Let's give them some good quality stuff that they can sit down and listen to. And one thing that I wanted to discuss was the whole Paula Deen thing. That probably has been discussed and you've probably heard about over and over again. And that was something I'm not a guy that follows the news, okay? For one thing, listen to that and remember that and know that, because I don't fucking follow what the popular census follows, like the popular the human populace, the regular human populace. The people tend to just sit there and follow what's coming up, and they talk about it, and I have no fucking clue. I'll be a year behind everyone because I just don't listen. It's like I live in the woods, but I'm here in society. Like what the fuck am I doing that I'm missing all this stuff, but I'm zoned out? I'm in my own world. I tend to get into that creative world, but it's like, and I love that I heard about this, about Leonardo da Vinci, because he was a man who, and I'm jumping around topics, and that's what I'm going to do, okay? Get used to it. If you're ever going to listen to this, longer than 5 minutes. Get used to me just jumping around because that's the way my brain works. Maybe that's why I can't pay attention to things the way I should. But right now I'm paying attention to this, and that's very important. So Leonardo da Vinci was this kind of a lazy guy, but if you want to say that, but you know, he did his works, but he never finished anything. Most of the time, maybe he didn't finish. I'm not sure. I think the Mona Lisa was an unfinished painting, but I could be wrong. But correct me, you know? Talk amongst yourselves and do, start a conversation about these things and learn something new every fucking day because I gave you the inspiration to do it. Who knows? I would love for people to just hear my voice and just listen to what I have to say. And then just go, and they're inspired not to put a fucking bullet in their head that day because they're feeling so bad because somebody else made them feel bad. Or, you know, they're on their last leg, you know, because they've gone through so much shit in their past life, and they don't care anymore. They're ready to just bite the fucking dust. They're ready to go. You know, they're ready to say fuck it. We're done. We've done what we can do. You know, you feel like you've accomplished all you can, or maybe you think you can't accomplish anything at all. So that's your way out. That's your vice to use. That's your the means to your end, I guess. But then you see something beautiful, you know. In my case, I saw something beautiful, which was my children, and I said, I can't do that. And you kind of separate yourself from being a parent and being a person sometimes, and that's the way, you know, our mind works. That's the way that, you know, we can just jump around like into different skins. You know, you can kind of put yourself in somebody's place. That's called compassion. So I'm doing this as kind of a test to see if I can just actually do this kind of thing. Okay, so I mentioned the Paula Deen thing like maybe an hour ago, and I haven't talked about it yet. But the thing I wanted to say about it was that the way it came out, and I haven't really like gone and read the story about it and shit, but I just like somebody said, okay, you know, she said the N-word, but okay, what's the reasoning behind that? And I think I came into it raw and not really knowing much about it, just so I could, you know, give my stupid opinion. And then, you know, I'll go in and I'll read, or I'll find some kind of media that will explain this whole fucking situation. But I just want to say that rappers have been saying that word for how long now? And they don't get scrutinized for it. They don't get... They use the word so loosely, like it's not that kind of word. Like, it's not derogatory, and it's not. There's a lot of pain behind that word. There's a lot of, you know, during the slave days and shit. Those guys, they heard that word right before their death, man. You know, it's like you're dead. And I don't say that shit. I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't say that word because it's not my word to say. You can probably argue that they earned that word. They earned to use that word. They earned the opportunity, you know, or they have the leisure of using that because of what their people went through, you know, and how. But I think sometimes all that shit's over, you know. I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, well, you know, how can we be racist? I grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood, so why the fuck am I gonna understand, you know, about this racism? You know, I've never had anybody really be racist to me. There was a couple people that played around and shit with it, and, you know, and I didn't play back, of course, because I'm not into that kind of shit. That's not one of my fetishes, you know, is to call somebody the N-word, you know. But the fact that she let it slip out once, or who knows, maybe she said it a lot. You know, she's from the South, the deep South, so maybe she let it slip out more than one occasion, and it's something that maybe finally got really public. Maybe somebody public heard it. Maybe somebody that is of some kind of thing in the media, or you know, maybe it slipped past their ears or some shit. And I don't know how it happened, but I'd love to know, and I'm gonna find out. And I'm kind of talking about it ignorantly here, but it was just a notion that came out. The notion of that, you know, this really southern woman, really sweet lady, has her own cookware and all this shit, and she's a brand, she's a household name. You know, she's become that. You know, the first time I saw her, she was making jams and jellies in a fucking kitchen. You know, she's just, you know, canning these jellies up and jarring them up and just fucking, you know, she's really this homemaker looking woman, you know, that you know, silver haired, you know, kind of, she's a cute faced woman, you know, she's cute in a grandma kind of way, like, but it kind of shocked me too that she would say something like that, you know, throwing that word around. Which, you know, there's a lot of people who might say things behind closed doors, and when it comes to being in the public, you don't let those kind of things slip out, because it's not proper etiquette, not proper social etiquette, you know, to do that kind of stuff. But I've seen ignorance in all forms. It doesn't matter what color you are. It's you know, don't let nobody tell you that one group is worse than the other, because, you know, even if they're not doing it in front of you, they're probably doing the shit. You know, they're probably talking about another group of people, whether it's a fat guy or, which I am, a big fat motherfucker. So people like to say that shit, that people like to, you know, vocalize that you're big. What's up, big man? Man, you're fucking fat. They just, you know, they'll come right out and say it, and it doesn't even matter. But if I say, man, you're fucking black, or man, you're fucking red, you know, or you're fucking yellow, whatever color you want to call somebody, man, you are really, but it seems to be okay. It's like to call a white person pale, but if you call a black person really, they get offended as fuck. Or it depends, you know, if you're in the loop for a while and you're hanging out with a couple of dudes who are, you know, whatever they are, you know, from around the fucking globe, it doesn't matter. You can get comfortable with that guy, and they'll you know, like if there's a white guy who's killed a couple dudes, I've heard this talked about, you know, in other people's shit, but if there's a white dude that's done something fucking badass and shit, you know, the black dudes are gonna accept him into their shit, in their circle. So if you see a group of black dudes sitting on the corner, and then there's one white guy in that group, what did he do in order to gain these guys' respect? Because when you see a group of African American gentlemen, then you wonder, you know, for one thing, who's the dominant one here? And sometimes you see that big dude, and he's got the golds and all that shit, and he hops into the baddest looking car, and you know for a fact that he's the baddest one. But the white guy, do you know what his standing is in this group? This gang, maybe, possibly? Because they're all kind of wearing the same colors and shit. And I don't want to fucking have any gang-related issues, because I'm just speaking as a general term. I like my life. I don't want people to come to me and be like, hey, man, you're talking shit about the Crips or the Bloods. Just the fact that I mentioned the names is kind of shifty, right? I could be like what the fuck is his name? Oh, my God. Harry S. True? No. Oh, no. It's a dude that, fucking Google. I'm gonna have to go to Google now. Hunter S. Thompson. I don't have to Google that shit. Hunter S. Thompson. He was the guy who Johnny Depp played in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. And he spent a year with the Hells Angels just to write I think it was a book or a column or some shit. I'm not sure. Wrote for a magazine, or, you know, he was a fucking writer. That's all. That's what I know about him. But I know he was one of the craziest writers of all time, because this guy would just be in an interview with another person, some kind of press or some shit, whatever it was, and he would be just doing bumps of cocaine or smoking a joint. Which these days it doesn't matter, because I mean, with all the shit that happened on Bill Maher with Zach Galifianakis smoking a joint, on that fucking whatever show that is that Bill Maher does, with all these conservative motherfuckers and shit who are probably totally against the use of marijuana, even though they, a lot of people ignore the beneficial factors of marijuana and what it can do for you, and I don't hear a lot of shit of what it can do to you as far as like being is not as, it's not as bad as fucking cigarettes, whatever. It's crazy. Because there's really no counts of people just actually dying straightly from it. I mean, the smoke entering your lungs and all that shit. Yeah, of course. It's like an alien thing going into an alien substance going into your body that your body wants to fucking get out of there as quick as possible, and that's why you choke sometimes. Because it's like, no, you put too much of that shit in there. You need to get this shit out, and it exits as quickly as possible. And but there's so many benefits to it because as far as the effects go, it might make you a little paranoid, but that really depends on your personality. It can take anxiety away. It can feed your imagination. It can fuel you to do a podcast that you probably wouldn't have done in the first place without it, because you don't have the confidence to do it on a regular basis, and you need something that will fuel you in order to stay with certain ideas or stay with a certain just flow in your mind. You need that extra little push that you can't get normally, and yeah, it makes you peaceful, and I love that. It's a thing of peace. It makes you just want to like just be happy and sit down and smile and laugh and stuff like that, and just watch cartoons and shit. Eat a bag of Cheetos every once in a while. So all that stuff right there, just sitting down and being lazy, those are the things that are negative about things like marijuana. But on the other side of the token, there are people that are very successful, and they can attest to the fact that the marijuana only supplements those things that they do. Keeps them calm, keeps them centered, keeps them wanting to keep that drive going, that creativity drive that entertains millions of people. And I'm not saying it's a wonder drug, and I'm not saying that, and I'm not. It works for some people, but it works against some others. It works against others, I should say. You really just have to do what it is that you want to do as far as living your life and fulfilling it. But just make sure you don't hurt anybody doing it. Like, I'm just gonna put it simply: just don't hurt anybody else. If you have to hurt somebody else to be happy, there's something fucking wrong with you. If you're Jeffrey Dahmer, just trying to get off by murdering individuals, then there's something fucking wrong with you. You should be locked up. But if you're just hanging out and just eating Cheetos and fucking around on the internet and watching Ren and Stimpy, who the fuck is gonna, what's criminal about that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it's been said so many times, but maybe just one more opinion out there about it will tip the scale. I'm not sure about that, but my one vote and your one vote and this guy's one vote and your uncle's fucking Sally's Uncle Sally, your Aunt Sally's vote can tip the scale on something like that. And I haven't seen anybody from regular usage have any kind of problems except for being a little stupid. Okay? But other than that, I mean, tip-top shape is your mind all the time, and you can just jump around to different subjects and speak about them with such eloquence that people will listen and understand as long as you enunciate and are clear and concise. And I think that I'm stimulated right now to the point where my mind is firing and things are flowing wonderfully, like water. coming out of a spigot. And you could just turn that stuff on and just keep flowing and flowing and flowing every day long. I don't know what I'm going on about, but hopefully just you're listening to the sound of my voice, rubbing one out, and just relaxifying, yourself. Feeling fucking good today, I guess. I don't know. I've been waking up in the morning really early, like 7 o'clock in the morning and shit, and I'm not a morning person at all. As a lot of people can tell you, especially some of the people that I used to work with, they can tell you that I'm not really a morning person. But more recently, I've been waking up really fucking early and just listening to podcasts, and that's how I got the inspiration to do this stuff. I was listening to a lot of Kevin Smith stuff. Kevin Smith is really inspiring me with all this stuff. He said, just go do this, just go do this thing. And I don't know if I'll ever be sitting in a convention center or anything like that, talking to people, and I'd love that shit, but I don't think that's ever going to happen for me. I don't see that in the future. This is the first baby step, though, towards just getting out there and getting my word out there. And all the other gibberish and shit aside, I mean, I want to be heard, and I want to be out there, and I want to be part of the social community, but I just don't know if I can. It's hard for me to leave the house sometimes because I'm just so stuck in this antisocial setting in my life. I don't know what's going on with it. It's strictly psychological. Maybe it has to do with the fact that I haven't been to the gym in a long time. I haven't worked out because those endorphins that you gain from those, they stimulate your brain and they stimulate your productivity. And you, because of it, I think you feel more confident. The more that you get your body in tune and you can use it every day and finally sculpt it, the more you feel confident about yourself. And that's true all around the fucking, yeah, I mean, everybody can relate to that shit. You lose 10 pounds and automatically you're fucking smiling, when you tell people about it, I lost 10 pounds, like, you can't make that negative, I've never seen anybody, oh, I've only lost 10 pounds. No, that's 10 pounds off your body, you know how much stress that is off your body, just a mere 10 pounds? And I lost 35. I'm back to fucking 300. Who knows? I haven't even weighed myself. But I know I'm not even fitting into clothes that I was fitting into before I started going to the gym and getting a little toned. And now I can't even fit into those fat clothes pre-gym. I can't even fit into it's crazy, man. I bought these clothes. I have a closet full of clothes that I can't fit into. And I'm just sitting here looking at the fucking things right now, wondering, what am I going to do with these clothes, and am I ever going to get back in that gym? I still have the membership. I'm still paying $20 a fucking month to just sit here and not, be thin, just be fat as fuck. And now I'm just doing this little podcast, tubecast, whatever the fuck you want to call it, and just sitting here being fat. And that shit just, that's not going to benefit anyone. That's not going to benefit me. That's not going to benefit you. If I ever do a video, you're going to have to look at my fat sloppy ass and shit. But, shit, Howard Stern was really a big inspiration to this too. He was the main guy back in the day that I used to skip school and listen to. I used to sit there and just listen to his morning show, and just the whole morning though, like from 6 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock. I think I had to listen to a little bit before school, and then I would go and skip. I'd have to act like I was going to school before my mom went to work, of course, but I'd have to sneak back into the house, and then instantly, you know, it'd be like, what, fucking 8, 9 o'clock by the time I got back to the house, maybe. Probably about 8. You know, get back to the house. You've already missed a little bit, but you can jump back in. But by that time, he's doing an interview with a celebrity and shit, you know? And then after that, he's fucking, you know, he's got the girls that are coming in doing some kind of contest, fucking intern beauty pageant or some shit. And then they just go into, you know, a little Gary bashing, you know, all day long. But then there's a certain point where him and Gary will go into it and go on this he'll go on this rant about how Gary can't do his job and shit, you know? For those of you who know Howard Stern's show and how he operates, you know, you don't have to I don't have to tell you, but he has this like formula that he always goes to. He's not afraid to say whatever he wants to say. He says whatever the fuck he wants about himself. I think I've done that a little bit here, but there are certain things and certain topics that are going to come up in different situations. This is the stuff that is on my mind right now that is just flowing out, and you know, I wanted to express with everyone, or however many people listen to this thing. But yeah, so I got inspired, and this is what came of it. I've been watching a lot of superhero movies lately. And Captain America, Thor, Avengers, fuck. And these I just jumped in at one time. I think I had like a little marathon of superhero movies that it was long overdue. I didn't see a couple of them in the theater, and I was like, I need to catch up on these movies. Let me just sit down and watch them. So I'd watched the Avengers in the theater, and then I watched it twice when it came on Netflix, and I was like fucking all into the Avengers and shit. But I'm like, what about the backstories? What about the things that brought us here to get these guys together? So then I jump in and I watch Thor. And Thor was an experience that was kind of like, I was like, what the fuck? You know, I never knew anything about Thor and all that. I'd heard little bits and here and there, but, you know, well, him and his father, and, who the fuck is the guy that played his father? God damn it, I can't believe. Anthony Hopkins. See, as I go to, Google the shit, it goes right into your fucking brain. Now the guy that played Thor, I don't know. I don't know his fucking name. I'd like to. Kenneth Branagh? No, that's the director. What am I, fucking retard? But I love Anthony Hopkins, man. You know, fuck. From his days as the fucking creep from Silence of the Lambs. And, he's a good actor, man. He's a fucking great actor, you know? Chris Hemsworth is Thor. Natalie Portman, I've been wanting to fuck her. I guess I was the same age at the time. Hopefully not that much older. But I had a crush on her since The Professional. Everything just slips my mind today. Chris Hemsworth is Thor, okay? And so I sat there and I was yeah. I feel like I need a sidekick or something, because it just gets so boring talking to yourself. You're essentially talking to yourself. I'm talking to this fucking microphone right now, but it's not the same as if somebody was bouncing off some fucking truth, you know, to me and shit, or preaching some kind of word, or being inspirational, something like the wheels start turning with, you know, that I couldn't come up with on my own. But we'll just keep on going anyways. What do you say? We'll just talk about, I lost a little bit there for a second, but hopefully I can get it back for you. Yeah, I was talking about Thor and the effect that had on me watching it after I had watched the Avengers and all that shit, not having, really a lot of knowledge about what Thor was about. I knew about his hammer because, he was fucking around with it in the Avengers, and how the Hulk couldn't even pick it up. And I guess it's exclusive to him and his father. They were the only ones that I ever saw pick it up. And he's just this powerful motherfucker. But he was this young kid who was just trying to learn how to use his responsibility. We've heard that so many times with like Spider-Man and the Uncle Ben. With great power comes great responsibility. But he didn't know Thor. He didn't know, how to use his powers. Or he couldn't control his temper. That was the problem, actually. His powers he was really good with, but controlling his temper was another thing. So it was merely psychological with him. It wasn't, he wasn't like a brilliant fighter, but he was just being stupid. He wasn't a wise king like his father at first. And it seems like, we always come into a story where the king is about to diminish and he's about to leave his throne for his son or something like that. There's a new order somewhere coming about. And I don't know why I thought about Braveheart right now, but then, William Wallace coming in, Scotland doesn't have a king, it's not really its own country at the time of that Braveheart, inspired movie. But he goes in and he fights the war against the King's army anyways, of England, and he comes out, and it's such an inspirational tale of just manhood. It's just complete and utter manhood. Guys fighting with fucking swords and spears and shit. It's just raw and it's just amazing because you can imagine being in that kind of stuff. And William Wallace is the one that always came out on top. If you ask me, he let himself be caught. He's just, if he didn't want to be caught, I don't think he would have been. But the fact that weighed on his head, the fact that he lost his wife, her throat slit in the middle of their little village, and him just witnessing it, and he lost his cool. And that's what started that war, and that's what eventually gained Scotland their independence. And I might be fucking babbling a little bit here and going on about the shit, but he eventually was just, he was out of fucking steam, he was done fighting. He couldn't fight anymore. He just let go, and I think we're all, no matter what, no matter how much freedom we have. I mean, I believe Americans have like so much fucking freedom. It's ridiculous. But you're always trying to search for more. You're always trying to go get more. I couldn't even imagine going through the days of just, you're not even allowed to have your, to be a certain color, or you're not allowed to be a certain gender. And to be a different color and a different gender at the same time, that meant that you were fucked. You were absolutely just like, you had nothing to protect you, The men of your race would go after you, and I think it's just like, how do you treat people like that? Whether you were African American or Hispanic or whatever you were. Women are starting to have a voice now, and I don't think it with the black president or a half black president or whatever you want to call him, we're a step closer, and I think that's great. I think it's wonderful that there are other people or other types of people that are getting in there and giving a go at trying to run the country and trying to do those things. But the next step is a woman. I think a woman can stay organized way better than a man. I will fucking agree with that kind of shit. And you know, a woman, and the reason a man loses his way sometimes is because he doesn't have a strong woman behind him. You know, certain men can't do it without a woman behind them, you know, and yeah, they can't function properly without being as organized as a woman would be. So I think a woman president would lead us into, you know, because it's that motherly instinct that they have, you know. A father is a good, you know, he's good at doing his thing and going out and getting that, but I think we would feel more taken care of and more nurtured if it was a woman in there. And we just need to get our heads out of the fucking sand about everything. It's like, hate this guy, hate this person because they look like this, and what the fuck's that all about? What are you doing? You know, why are we doing that still? You know, it's not like we're not used to each other's company anymore, you know. We've been together, mixing races for how many years now? And I think it's going to take a couple more generations before that hate is kind of filtered out of our lives, you know. I hope it will be, because we can't, you know, as a species, we can't keep doing that shit. And I know we're just like the animals. The animals will never stop fighting. Will never stop going at war, because that's something that occurs naturally in every species on Earth. You know, whether you're fighting your own species or fighting against another species for species for space and territory and shit. You know, just or you know, attacking another thing for food, for a food source and shit. It'll never stop, you know. I mean, something is always going to have to die. It's just inevitable. It's gonna happen anyways to you. You're gonna die someday. You know that, right? Somebody told you about that shit, didn't they? But we fight against that shit, you know. We fight against, you know, having to say one day that we're giving up, and we have to give up because that's what our body tells us to do. You're gonna die. You're dying. You know, when you lay there and breathe your last breaths and shit, you do go into acceptance, because you know that this is supposed to happen. But I did not know that I was gonna get a phone call. I think that's a nice neutral ring. There's nothing copywritten about that shit, right? But that did fuck up my tangent, and I will end it on that. And I don't even know if this is going to be interesting at all. And I hope that it reaches somebody and gives them a little tickle and gets them moving on something, you know? Because as miserable as I am, I think there's somebody out there that's fucking worse. I think it's worse for somebody out there, somebody coming home every day and beating this person with a belt, and that all that person wants to do is create art. You know? There's a situation, you know, maybe where, you know, you're sitting at home, maybe you're a teenager, and your parents are coming home and they're discouraging you instead of encouraging you to do things by the words that they tell. The words that they say to you, the things that they say to you, the fucking, you know, insults and the takedowns and teardowns, or however you would say that shit. They tear you down and they make you feel like you can't do it, so you just don't do it. You don't pursue those dreams because, you know, if your parents don't believe in you, then who the fuck is? You know what I'm saying? And sometimes people go out there and they do it on their own anyways, and they kind of they get through the trenches and all that shit, and they cut through all the bullshit, and they believe in themselves in spite of what they've been taught. And I'm kind of preaching to myself right now about that. If you didn't realize, But I will bid you adieu. And I wish you happiness, and I'd love to see something come out of this, and I hope I can do this again. So goodbye for now, and much love to you, baby. Much love.